Now, on 105.9 FM and streaming worldwide on the WMAL app. O'Connor and Company.
Well, good morning, one and all, and happy Thursday to all of you. It is 8:07 on News Talk 105.9 WMAL, making sense of the news. I am Andrew Langer, in for Larry O'Connor today, in for Larry O'Connor tomorrow. Larry is back on Monday. Excited to have him back. I will be harassing him and Julie on Monday with text messages while they're on the show, as I am wont to do. Sitting aside me today is Bethany Mandel. She is the creator of the Mom Wars Substack as well as the Mom Wars podcast. I gotta put that back into my rotation there, Bethany.
Please do. I just recorded an episode last night, in fact.
And what was the subject of the episode?
Oh, we just rambled.
Ramble? That's good.
Yeah, it's always a good one. The mom news is always crazy.
Yeah, Jerry and I need to get back to doing Andrew and Jerry Save the World. It's been a bit for us. But listen, joining us right now, we got Susan Crabtree at the bottom half of the hour to talk about this bombshell Inspector General report about the Secret Service. But listen, we got to bring on KT McFarland, former National Deputy Security Advisor to President Trump, author of the book Revolution, CPAC board member as well. And listen, the axis of authoritarianism gathered in Beijing for the military parade. KT, what's this signaling here?
Well, it's really the axis of upheaval, Andrew. Yeah. I mean, they want to displace the United States and the world order that's kept the peace since the end of World War II. They want to flip it on its head.
Right.
So it's China, Russia, North Korea, Iran together aligned against the United States. It's serious. Mm-hmm. I think that we need to marshal all of our resources, get our allies in line, and stand up to it. And I guess when I saw the picture of all the bad guys standing together, it struck me that, okay, there's no nice way around this. Hamas is not going to stop. Iran is not going to, give up its nuclear weapons. Russia's not going to settle with Ukraine. Let's just admit the inevitable and get on with it.
Yeah. I mean, listen, it is definitely, listen, China has been behind so much in not in recent years, but for a very long time. We are really only now learning the depths of this, and the Trump administration is taking it seriously, isn't it?
Yeah, and here's the problem, Andrew. Since 2000 and after the Twin Towers came down, we took our eye off of China.
Right. Hold on, KT.
We had the forever wars in the Middle East.
Wait, KT, time out for a second, because a lot of folks, when in the wake of 9/11, and we're coming up on the anniversary, there was a lot of blame to George W. Bush and his national security team. And I always pointed out, listen, we were focused on China. Folks forget that in the May, I think it was May or June of 2001, the Chinese were holding one of our planes hostages. We had a real flashpoint there, didn't we?
Yeah, and then when September 11th happened, we focused on the Middle East, we focused on terrorism, and we just took our eye off the ball of China, which China was thrilled about. They've used that period of time to, beg, borrow, steal our technology, to build themselves a modern military, powerful modern military. They've used wolf warrior diplomacy to strong-arm any other country in the world to move away from America, move towards China, and then they've used the almighty trade weapon against us. So, look, this is a formidable enemy. This is an existential threat to the United States. What does that mean? It doesn't mean we go to war, but what it means is we get our act together. We get our act together and rebuild our military. We fix our economy. We seal the border. We stop the fentanyl trade. And we once again understand that the world is a nasty place and that nobody is giving us, an easy time, and that China has, the gloves are off. The eye shades are open. Nobody now knows and nobody realizes that the Chinese threat is, in fact, an existential threat. They have no intention of, sharing world power. Let's all live in peace. They want to take us down.
Speaking of the Chinese wanting to take us down, I think a crucial component of our fight against that is eliminating TikTok from the phones of Americans, especially our teenagers and our young people, because I think it's an op, basically, that's being run by the Chinese Communist Party. Where do you think that stands, and is President Trump actually going to move forward on what Congress wants him to do, which is make sure that the CPP divests itself of control of the app.
Here's the thing about TikTok. It's almost impossible to put that genie back in the box. It's there. It exists. The problem with it is that it uses technology, and TikTok is a primary source of news for young people, like people I think under the age of 28 or something. And so the Chinese are using it not just to show you cute little cat videos, but they're using it to scramble people's brains.
Yeah.
So what they feed them is like anti-Americanism, cultural destruction of the United States. So what are you going to do about it? Well, I think President Trump had the right idea in his first term, which is, look, you can't undo the genie. TikTok is there. Cute cat videos are there, but you can take it out of the hands of the Chinese Communist Party, which is using it, as you said, as an op, not an app, but an op, intelligence operation and a mind-scrambling operation, and let Americans buy it. There have been various solutions floated over the last year of how it could be purchased by an American, but get it out of the hands of the Chinese because it's propaganda. They're like scrambling the brains of young people.
100%.
So, KT, we had this. We had back-to-back meetings. We had the summit with Putin. We had the meeting with the European leaders and Zelensky. Things seem to have slowed down. The momentum on this has slowed down. The president's going to talk to Zelensky today. What are your thoughts here?
I think President Trump has got a choice, and he's going to have to make it within the next couple of weeks. He'd all along wanted to prevent that picture that we just saw of the Chinese president, the Russian president, North Korea. He did not want that alliance arraigned against the United States. And so throughout, he tried to settle the Ukraine war so that we could have a relationship, a U.S.-Russian relationship. We could kind of pull Russia out of that alliance. But it doesn't look like it's going to happen. So President Trump's going to have to make a decision in the next 2 weeks. Do we start doing really retaliatory economic sanctions against the Russian economy? We can do it. It'll come at a little pain to us, a lot of pain to Russia. But that's what President Trump, that's why we pay him the big bucks, right, to be president, so he makes the tough choices.
We actually don't pay him the big bucks. He returns his entire salary.
that was exact. I was meant that.
I know, but I just love pointing that out because very few people know it.
KT, just I want to talk. Can you hang out for a little bit with us? Can you hang out for another segment with us?
Sure.
All right, good. But before, because we got about a minute here, I just want to get your thoughts. Yesterday, Nigel Farage came and spoke to the House Judiciary Committee about the free speech crisis in the UK. I wanted to get your thoughts on this and about our relationships with our friends over the pond.
J.D. Vance, when he spoke to the European leaders several months ago, made the point of, do we really still have the same cultural values? Are we all fighting for the same thing? And what he was aiming at was this idea that now it's illegal in Great Britain to even speak in your own home.
Right. Things
that could be construed as positively or maybe even slightly anti-Muslim. And Nigel Farage is right. Free speech is free speech, whether it's spoken in your home or whether it's spoken on the street. That doesn't mean you incite violence with free speech. But free speech should be a sacred right. It should be a sacred right that's built into the, to the fabric of Western democracies.
Yep.
And I think he was right to do it. And I think Nigel Farage is the most exciting, interesting person in Britain today. I certainly hope he takes more and more of a leadership position in that country.
We're going to continue to have this conversation with KT McFarland, talking about Israel and Iran and the Middle East generally. But first, it's 8:15 a.m.
WMAL, making sense of the news. Live from the Home Paramount Pest Control Studios. Home Paramount, the leader in pest control since 1939.
So we're continuing our conversation with KT McFarland. She's a CPAC board member, former Deputy National Security Advisor to President Trump, author of the wonderful book. If you haven't read it, please go and get it, Revolution. KT, so obviously we've got lots going on in the Middle East. Ground offensives begun in Gaza City. Let's talk about that.
Well, I think, again, the realization that Hamas is never going to negotiate in good faith, that their whole goal is that they figure if they don't win, they've won. And they know they can't win militarily, but they win in the court of public opinion, and that's why President Trump said, get on with it to Israel. If you do what you got to do, but do it fast. And it won't be pretty. But at the end of the day, Hamas, like Iran's nuclear weapons, Hamas has to be eliminated. Hamas cannot be in control of the people of the region. It's not only bad for everybody in the region, it's bad for the Palestinian people, and it's a threat to the safety and security of Israel, but of the whole region.
Yeah. So President Trump is pressuring Israel to get on with it, but he's also pressuring Hamas. Yesterday morning, he tweeted, "Tell Hamas to immediately give back all 20 hostages," which, by the way, I just want to clarify, 20 of them are alive, but there's still 48 hostages in total. And so he's threatening, give back the hostages, not 2, not 5, not 7, and things will change rapidly. It will end. What do you think the next step is for President Trump? You know, if these hostages aren't returned, which there is no indication that they will be.
The hostages won't be returned.
Yeah.
If Hamas was smart, they would treat the hostages well. They would bargain their way out and maybe go to, I don't know, retire to Switzerland or someplace with all the money they've robbed from the people of the Palestinian region. But they won't. They're going to just fight to the last man. And so I think Israel's got to do what Israel's got to do, which is to eliminate Hamas. Look, even if those hostages were returned and Hamas was allowed to survive in its murderous ways, they would go grab more hostages. It's never ending. The hostages are their only currency. And it'll be really nasty and messy because Hamas is in the tunnels. It's infiltrated into the society. It's, the same guy who's like living next door to you might be a Hamas chieftain. But at the end of the day, you've just got to eradicate that evil.
KT, listen, on this free speech issue, we've got this weird colloquy yesterday between Tim Kaine, the junior senator from Virginia, and Ted Cruz, in which Tim Kaine made this bizarre statement that in the Declaration of Independence, we say we are endowed by our Creator with certain inalienable rights, and he said that this is a notion out of theocracies like Iran. I mean, that is right. I mean, it's a laughable. But besides the laughing, what are your thoughts here on this?
Well, not only was Tim Kaine wrong morally, he was wrong constitutionally. But man, how dumb do you have to be to pick a fight with Ted Cruz,
right?
Who's considered to be one of the smartest constitutional scholars in the country. So it's just endowed by their Creator. So who does Tim Kaine think gives people?
He thinks
rights?
they come from government. Yeah, that's literally he said government.
It's
crazy. Sorry,
a government that he's in charge of, a government that he runs. It's just so anti everything that the United States stands for. We have our rights as individuals. It comes from the Creator, or it comes from our human. Who knows who it comes from? But it does not come from guys like Tim Kaine.
Nature or nature's God intended. Yeah, that's the language from the Declaration. I'm sorry, Bethany, I know you wanted to jump in here.
Yeah, so I want to ask about this strike, I guess you might call it, on the drug traffickers.
Oh yes, of course. Thank you for doing that.
Yeah, it is wild to me the responses. Oh, this is what we should have done when they were drug traffickers trying to come into our borders. Do you have any thoughts on, if this signals, anything major, or was this just a massive show of strength from the Trump administration?
Massive show of strength, and it shows that President Trump is he means it when he says we are going to end the cartels, we are going to stop the poisoning of our children, we are going to stand up for Americans, because this is where the fentanyl is coming through.
Yep.
And Maduro, Venezuela, he's really the cartels are really like his foreign legion. They're part of his military. He's running it. So do whatever you want in your own country, but don't come and kill Americans. And I think President Trump took the appropriate action. He showed that we can do it with very little effort, that is well within our ability to just snuff those drug cartels out.
We are in KT McFarland. We are in the era, as I said earlier, we are in the era of F around and find out, and that's the we could be a patient nation, right? But at some point in time, we're gonna do this. KT McFarland, thank you so very much for joining us today and sticking around.
Thank you. It's a pleasure. Thank you.
KT McFarland, she does great service as a member of the CPAC board, former Deputy National Security Advisor under Donald Trump, and, of course, the author of the great book, Revolution. We got more to come. It is 8:22 here on WMAL. Listen, we've got so much more coming up on the show. We're going to get in depth on these bizarre comments that Virginia's junior senator Tim Kaine made in a congressional hearing, a Senate hearing, going toe-to-toe with Ted Cruz. And listen, we've got Susan Crabtree joining us right after the news. Susan has been reporting on this bombshell Inspector General's report on huge, massive deficiencies, huge problems at the Secret Service. It is 8:30 right here on O'Connor & Company, WMAL.
WMAL-FM, Woodbridge, Washington, a Cumulus media station. Making sense of the news. News Talk 105.9. News now. Now on 105.9 FM and streaming worldwide on the WMAL app. O'Connor and Company.
Well, good morning, everybody. It is 8:37 here on News Talk 105.9 WMAL. We are making sense of the news. I'm Andrew Langer, in for Larry today and tomorrow. Larry's back on Monday. I'm sitting alongside Bethany Mandel. Hello, Bethany.
Good morning. We're in the home stretch. We made it.
We are. And listen, we're going to be talking in a couple of minutes about the Tim Kaine situation. But in the meantime, there's a bombshell Inspector General report that is dropped on the Secret Service. And, you know, whenever we're talking Secret Service, the go-to person is my old friend, Susan Crabtree. Susan, I was just thinking, I was talking with producer Heather yesterday. You and I have known each other for, I won't get into how long we've known each other, but basically since you were a teenager and I was in my 30s. Oh, that sounds weirder even still. So
that's creepy.
Let's not go down that road.
Nope, never do that intro again.
Yeah, sorry about that.
We could just call it a quarter century.
Yes, we've known each other that's fine. Yes, that's the best way to put it, a quarter century. But you're a political correspondent for Real Clear Politics. This report, I just get, I read more about it, and it just upsets me even more. Tell us all about it.
Well, this is one of 5 Inspector General reports that is supposed to be coming out in the aftermath of the assassination attempt, looking at what the problems were, why this was allowed to occur, all of these avalanche of failures that we had on J13th and then a month later as well. This report does not surprise me at all. I've talked to several members of the counter sniper team, and they were aggrieved about what happened on J13. It was the person that we thought was the hero, the counter sniper that provided the so-called kill shot to Thomas Crooks and saved the day, was actually also part of the failure that day because he approved this terrible plan that the Secret Service counter snipers used that day that had a terrible line of sight, didn't have the AGR building covered, and was actually a tree was obstructing their line of sight to Thomas Crooks. And the counter snipers weren't positioned well. They were behind the stage and lacked this 360-degree view that they need. But this report is talking about how they're terribly understaffed. Yeah. 73% below the level necessary to complete their mission requirements.
So one of the things that I remember hearing in the wake of the assassination attempt on President Trump, which Joanne Reed doesn't believe actually happened and that he was not shot, it's
crazy. Yes.
Absolutely certifiable. One of the things that I remember hearing was that there was no law enforcement presence on the roof that he was on because it was slanted, and that posed a danger to law enforcement. Am I remembering that right? Was that part of the report?
That was part of Kimberly Cheadle's, the director at the time, testimony to Congress right after the assassination attempt. And that and other terrible things she said, and actual misstatements, if I want to be kind, that she said during that hearing caused her to resign. She resigned under a cloud, that would put it mildly. And I mean, it's ridiculous on its face to say that, but now we are learning that it's really difficult to hire and train a lot of counter snipers. I mean, I'm hearing from my sources, and Rich Starapoli, he's a former retired Secret Service agent and undersecretary at DHS, he has said he estimates there's just 20 counter snipers. And he says the reason why that is because they don't allow people to come straight from the military. Wow. It takes 2 years to train them. And they don't like to, a lot of uniform division officers where they pull these people from, they don't like to be on rooftops.
Right.
So it's hard to find someone who wants to be on the rooftop to begin with. Never mind having it slanted with all the memes with cows on slanted roofs that produced at the time. But yeah, that's one of the problems. But it's terribly understaffed. These counter snipers were working 60,000 hours of overtime last year, and they were basically understaffing, pulling people that weren't trained specifically to be Secret Service counter snipers, pulling others from other DHS, ICE, and other agencies to cover events that even included President Biden's events, which usually the presidential events are reserved, for the most elite, top security assets of the Secret Service.
All right, listen, Susan, before we let you go, we're talking with Susan Crabtree, who's a correspondent with Real Clear Politics. Ryan Ruth, his trial starts this week, but we can end this all if President Trump just agrees to play golf with him.
I mean, this is going to be a spectacle. I can't imagine this judge is going to let Ryan Ruth testify for himself and be his own lawyer. It's something. It's going to be attracting a lot of attention. Obviously, the statements he's making are just beyond insane, and yet he planned and plotted this. So that's up to the courts to figure out if he can stand trial. I mean, he is standing trial, but whether he can serve as his own lawyer. The man, we still don't know enough about him, but we do know a lot that he has these bizarre, he was trying to recruit people soldiers to go to Ukraine.
Yeah.
He was in Afghanistan. He lived in Hawaii. All of these bizarre things about this man. Of course, all eyes will be on that. My eyes will be on that trial. And if he is allowed to be his own lawyer, boy, we're in for a spectacle beyond belief.
Well, listen, Susan Crabtree, thank you so much as always. Love chatting with you about these things. Love the reporting that you do. You take care.
I appreciate your interest in it, and thanks so much, Andrew. It's great to be with you.
Always. Yeah, Susan Crabtree was up super early in the morning to join us. Susan Crabtree on Twitter. We got more coming up. It's 8:43 on WMAL.
WMAL, making sense of the border, because laws either matter or they don't. Download the WMAL app to stream us for free.
Bethany, I don't know if you know this, but when I was the bicentennial happened when I was 5. Folks can do the math as to how old I am, how old that makes me, and was steeped in this. That's why I'm so excited for the 250th anniversary this coming year. But someone who lives in Williamsburg and spent a lot of time in Williamsburg growing up, a lot of time visiting revolutionary places. The words of our Declaration of Independence are sacred to me. 1776, my favorite musical of all time, probably. And this idea that we are endowed by our Creator with inalienable rights is something that I hold sacred. Apparently not so much for the junior senator from Virginia, Tim Kaine. This was in a congressional hearing yesterday, and I'm just stunned at this. Let's play cut 25.
The notion that rights don't come from laws and don't come from the government, but come from the Creator, that's what the Iranian government believes. So the statement that our rights do not come from our laws or our governments is extremely troubling.
The man is a Virginian nominally. The man represents the state of Virginia, the birthplace of Thomas Jefferson, the author of the Declaration of Independence. This is, obviously, it's astounding to me, but I shouldn't be surprised, should I?
No, so yes, all of those things.
Yeah.
Could we enact like a citizenship test for members of Congress, like a basic civics literacy test?
Yes.
I'm saying this as a joke, but I'm actually not kidding, because I love some grandstanding. I love some stunts, and this would actually be a really good stunt on the part of congressional Republicans if they introduce a measure and they could like make it a funny acronym.
How about this? Instead of the congressional baseball game, we do like Family Feud, but on civics.
Yeah.
They put up their best 5. We put up our best 5. We get Larry to host, right? I mean, I can host it, but we get Larry to host it, or Tony Katz, or but Larry. We get Larry to host it, and it becomes a thing. I would do that every year, some kind of big civics bowl.
So many members of Congress are so old, and it could that they don't want to do the baseball race anymore. baseball game anymore, but this could also serve as just a basic like cognitive test for members of Congress, most of whom there was a really funny video that I saw of Norton, I think. And she was being walked to a podium. And so it can be a civics test, and it can also be just a basic cognitive test. Do you know what date it is? Could be one of the questions. Do you know where you are right now?
Literally, this sort of the standard mental health emergency examination. KT McFarland was right, though. Ted Cruz, you don't want to go up against Ted Cruz on these things. Let's play cut number 26.
So Senator Kaine said in this hearing that he found it a radical and dangerous notion that you would say our rights came from God and not from government. I just walked into the hearing as he was saying that, and I almost fell out of my chair. Because that radical and dangerous notion, in his words, is literally the founding principle upon which the United States of America was created. And if you do not believe me, and you made reference to this, Mr. Barnes, then you can believe perhaps the most prominent Virginian to ever serve, Thomas Jefferson, who wrote in the Declaration of Independence, "We hold these truths to be self-evident, that all men are created equal, and that they are endowed by their Creator. Not by government, not by the Democratic National Committee, but by God.
With certain inalienable rights, and among these, which is one of my favorite phrases in the entire Declaration of Independence, among these are life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. It's a corollary to the Ninth Amendment to the Constitution. Anyway, when we come back, some final thoughts. I'm Andrew Langer. This is WMAL.